Then the vampire hunter opened the coffin, but there was nothing inside.
Ooh, spooky. Hello and welcome to another episode of Speculative Speculations. I'm Varsha and I forgot to change my name from last week.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Chris.
And this is a series where we talk about speculative stories in all their forms. We are discussing today Rose House by Arkady Martine. No short story today because this was a novella we read in 1 week. And otherwise we usually work our way through the big book of science fiction, edited by Jeff and Anne Vandermeer. We will be starting a read-through of Revelation Space next week. If you'd like to join us, please check out the Page Chewing Forum. Depending on when this goes up, we might already be done. But I think we'll post this soon because of that Halloween intro. So, we're going to be reading chapters 1 to 4 for the first discussion. The short story will be Spouting with the Child by Barrington J. Bailey, which is 10 pages long. The short stories for the Revelation Space discussion are longish. We have a George R.R. Martin one coming up that's 23
I
pages.
wish we didn't.
I know. It's 23 pages long. You're excited for the George R.R. Martin part of it until you know it's 23 pages long. Anyway. Well, it's 23 very big pages in the big book of science fiction.
Yeah, it's more like 640 or something.
Yeah. They're pretty big pages.
Damn.
It's small font and everything. Anyway, so we finished Desolation Called Peace, had a blast, and we are now back with the same author, with Rose House, in which I think she, if we squint a little bit, there's a lot of repeating themes from her previous book, especially the one around exploring the, I guess, I want to say edges of consciousness, and which she does with Rose House. So I want to, let's do high level thoughts, and then I have a burning question to ask you both.
Burning question.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky. All right. Yes, high level thoughts. This was a nicely put together novella. I enjoyed my time with it. I liked once again Martine's character, the main character. I thought was a good character. Was a someone that you wanted to succeed and get to know, and but still had her flaws and what have you. And I liked but I also liked her supporting cast in the fact that they were kind of well defined in the short time that they were introduced, and were weird enough for the story to work. Her deputy partner was interesting, and when he had his little moments of introspection and thoughts about what the hell are we doing, and stuff like that, that was interesting, and it really endeared you to him. And then the just the weirdness of the architect, who was the executor of the estate, who ended up being a really kind of a little bit of a wacko, understandably so, given her background and where she came from, and the situation that she was thrust into. So once again, strong characterizations from Martine, and strong relation of identity themes. What does it mean to be what does it mean to have a conscious, and how does that relate to a being that is other, that you can either imagine has a conscious or may actually have one that's undefined, which, rightly so. Uh, and that that theme of how you define yourself was running through this book as well, especially when it came to, are you a person or are you a representative of a different kind of entity? And I liked that little exploration we got there. Not so sure about the ending, but we'll get to that.
Hmm. Yeah, pretty similar for me. I actually think your review that you just put up today on your channel kind of said it very well. I really enjoy Martine's writing. There's no doubt. Her style and characterization and scene set and development of story and all is really interesting. Whether I'm not really sure whether her prose is amazing, but it's always interesting. It's never flaccid. You know what I mean? It's not kind of easy to read in that way. That it's interesting without being flowery. Um, I'm not sure how much I actually enjoyed the events of the story, uh, probably culminating in the fact that the ending, as we'll talk about, is a bit. Mm, I'm not sure. As you said, the events of the story, kind of fall flat, I think, at the end of it. But there are lots of really interesting themes in here. There's no doubt. I think she challenges our perceptions of what we think AI is and can be. I think she uses again that idea that you said, Jared, of the other. So in this case, the technological other, insofar as like an awful lot of the evilness or ascribed personality is all in the beholder of the person that's telling the story in the first person sort of narrative, without it necessarily being present in the characterization. So things like laughing is seen as sniggering, is seen as there's more personification put on those actions that I think them may have been actually present in this programming
Mhm,
at that
yeah.
time, which I think creates a big area of interest within it. And as you say, I think that a lot of the characters that they set up were interesting. I felt like some of them were a little underdeveloped. I think especially is it Celine? Her character felt a bit underdeveloped, which is why I think some of the ending fell a little flat. Because some of it hinged around her and the effect on her, but aside from that, like definitely is a novel uh, that I really enjoyed reading, and that I could kind of say like it definitely goes in the mark of, yeah, I really like 120-page fantasy sci-fi books. Like I just generally do like that peak in it, even when they don't completely work. They never outstay their welcome. They always kind of present
Mm.
a lot of interesting ideas and then leave you with it and say away you go. And the best ones tie it all together beautifully, but even without all of the boxes being ticked, it was still an incredibly enjoyable read.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with both your assessment. The ending felt iffy to me because I didn't understand large parts of it, and those parts that I did sort of get, I can't say that I cared too much because, like you said, Chris, I didn't feel like Celine was developed enough for. We only got to know that, um, like some facts about her, not much about her as a person, right? We got to know that she was the guy's student, and she denounced him at some point without being super clear about what it is that she denounced him about. Although I think we can sort of glean that she didn't quite like the consciousnesses maybe that he ended up creating, but unclear about exactly what her objection is with all of that. So I think she's an interesting character to sort of break apart and try and figure out. But I feel like there's not enough meat there for me to care about the fact that she got left behind, and maybe Rose House has a bit of a fascination with her, and maybe the whole, what do you call a house without doors bit is finally coming back because now Celine might be imprisoned there forever, maybe. But I think the standout theme for me, of course, like I said, was the exploration of consciousness, like, and I think you both mentioned it as well, there were two particular things that stood out to me. One was that brief scene when we get, I think it was Rose House's perspective, when it's sort of contemplating the dead person inside, and she thinks of it like um, a room or something with space in it, the like breathing as the moving of air within a space, and the fact that the hand is hollow, it's not holding anything. So basically she's thinking of the human as you might a house. So I loved that switch in perspective. It was like when we got the alien perspectives in another book that we just read. I won't say which, just in case. Like anyway, so it felt like that, and it felt jarring for it. It's it's really, it doesn't evoke any discomfort when, say, humans think, like, personify the house, right? Like with the laughter and everything. And the house is deliberately personifying itself also, it seems like it gave itself a body and whatnot. But when the house is sort of housifying a human, it's suddenly so jarring, right? I love that brief scene. I think that was the highlight of the book for me. And then the other thing, on a similar note, which I guess we'll maybe get to talking about in a bit more detail, is this discussion about potentially like dualism, or when she and Detective Smith. So I keep thinking of the house as she, maybe not correctly. I guess it and Detective Smith get into this argument about multiplicity and whether you believe that your identity stays the same if it's taken out of your body and whatnot. So I think, yeah, I really love that little exploration too. Like you said, Chris, I don't want to say issues with the book. It felt less than satisfying, the ending, because I didn't know what to make of it. But until about like the 90-page mark, it was immensely satisfying. That made me think a lot. So yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting points, because I like your term, housifying. That's great. The because the house says in the beginning there's two dead persons here, and it says if you count Bayzit, but Bayzit's a diamond. How strange that a man can compress himself so far. Like, she's saying that as if there was control over that by the man, like by the dead man. You know what I mean? and so
Right. Yeah.
and so she's trying to, like you said, personify, housify, as if Bayzit was a peer, as if he, the former person, was on the same level as a house, as the intelligent house, and he could perform this feat because he's willing it, or he's programmed to do it, or something like that. And you get the sense as you're going through the book that maybe the house is a little confused in and of itself about what it actually is, and is actually trying to work that out by having these rules about entering and exiting, and who can exit, who can enter, who it interacts with, and how it interacts with them, by redefining what the interaction is with whatever it's interacting with. And so it's yeah, that's housifying. I like that.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept, that actually, that idea of the AI trying to find its place in the world and kind of know where it is, because Martine obviously plays with this, with the individuality of the detective Maritza Smith, and the fact that she's trying to like precinct when she gets
Yeah.
allowed into the house as well. So that whole idea is investigated, as in our previous books, in multiple ways. Like Martine always gives you a lot of lenses to look through a problem at, or discuss through, and not just show you one perspective of it. Especially because I think even people that are reading science fiction would be predisposed to distrust the AI compared to the human. And it's sort of pointed out that actually the deceitfulness came from them getting entry for the detective by playing the system or the the logic of who was allowed in the house and who shouldn't be allowed in the house, even though the AI house continually shows that it does know the difference between China Lake Precinct and Maritza Smith the house, but it's sort of playing the game the whole way along as part of this discovery piece that it's doing.
Yeah, that's a good point because the person who died in the house died because they were being deceitful humans. They were trying to break in. They were trying to get something out of the files, whatever they were trying to get, and so that is the wrong. Even though the whole time everybody's scared of the house, and so that's an interesting contrast to what you would think is the problem. The person who died broke the law, but our main concern is who murdered this person. And so yeah, it's interesting how Martine makes us look at things differently like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. Very cool. So can I ask my burning question?
Bernie.
Why the hell is there a slash in the title? /.
Yes. Why is that there? Good question.
Well, except if I don't know if your cover's slightly different than mine. It actually isn't. If I'll hold mine up to the camera here, it's actually through the house. It's not actually a.
Oh, it's a
It's not a
house.
punctuation, which it's a
Okay.
rose house, but it's it's a separate. It's not a punctuation mark. It's a either question or a punctuation play in somewhere. So it's a rose house, as in a greenhouse. But is it a house? Is it a house by itself? I don't know. So that question I think is interesting because it isn't in the way that you would normally see it. It's superimposed on the rose house.
Okay, so I think now that you put it up like that, it looks like the roof, the slanting roof of a house.
It maybe just represents architecture in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the title of the book, I think if you go on Amazon, it has a / in it, I'm pretty sure.
It does actually, yeah.
Yeah, because my
Yeah,
copy's
it
not
has a
doing that.
/ Yeah.
Yes, yours is
Yeah.
punctuation, which mine
It's more
isn't.
straightforward. Yeah.
Ah.
The
Huh.
audiobook cover also has the / like it has house on the second row and the / on the first row, if you see it.
So, interesting. So obviously, rose as that word can be a name, can be a thing.
Yeah.
So it has multiple meanings, and obviously there's petals that are within the story as well. Without, I don't think they're ever described as being rose petals, but they're petals of a flower of some sort. And again, these petals give a personification of the being that is in the house, and in terms of their flesh, in some, so it could be Rose's house, in some ways. I'm sort of playing with the words here, in some way, or it could be how made of roses, or again that idea that you had at the start. I mean, I definitely ascribed the AI to be female in this story. I don't know if that was actually explicitly said in the story.
Yeah.
But actually, there's no doubt in my head that it is a female. That the house, whether it's because they're looking after the house and in some way of almost like the maid housekeeper for Bazet, and now for the custodian that's been left.
I feel like making it, I don't know, this is a very strange take, but maybe because all the horror movies I watched I didn't watch or like knew about, or the songs from the horror movies that I'm aware of all have a female voice, female ghostly sounds. So it's just that much more creepy to me for being female. I don't know if it would evoke the same sense of discomfort if it was a male AI. Maybe it might have, but yeah, in my head, she's female. I don't Yeah, I love the descriptions of the laughter. It's like the sound of air moving through an empty haunted house, right? The way it's described, like with the wind chimes and I guess invoking a storm and whatnot. It's beautiful. I love what she did with. Oh, I love that. With um, with the atmospheric description of Rose House,
Yeah.
and also the petrichor, which I learned there is a word for the smell I love of fresh rain. I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
I've seen
freshness
that
of
as well.
the yeah.
So a quick Google actually about Rose House
Mhm.
brought two entries that I think are quite pertinent. Actually, I think so. There is an iconic real life house in Beirut that has inspired artists and is hoped to be a symbol of the city's restoration after war. Which again, this idea of being an architectural inspiration, as the
Mm.
Rose House is definitely true. And the other Rose Houses is another word for crisis respite centre. So these are peer operated home like centres for individuals experiencing a mental health crisis, offering a respite from psychiatric ER and inpatient units. So when you actually think about the ending of what happened, good old Celine at the end here, I mean, you can see that definitely play in there as well. And maybe the signification of the forward slash is just to indicate it's a Rose House, but with AI. It's got
Mm.
it's got a
Mhm.
little bit of very uh, line of code essentially in there.
Yeah.
Ah,
Oh. Oh.
interesting. Very
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
If it had been double slash, it would have been much more effective because it would have been commented.
Backslash escape character.
Yeah,
Yeah. You brought up a good point earlier, Vasha, about the Celine character.
Mm.
Um, how did we get from her being, the the one who left her mentor because they had a disagreement, a falling out, or whatever,
mm,
and but he, of course, named her the executor. We don't know whether it was just spite or he just really wanted some, one last thing to hang on to or whatever. But either way, how did we get from her being that in that position to her stuffing dead bodies with roses or petals? And
I
I think that's where your point earlier about the characterization was on the mark because it didn't really I didn't get enough weirdness from her. Like
mm.
if there was a little more scenes with her being
Yeah.
really strange or doing something really weird and something like that, um, I think that would have gave that a little more oomph. But it was just like, oh, I stuffed the petals in.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
or Rose House said she stuffed the petals in or something like that. I forget how it played out, but
Mm.
it was just like, oh, okay, so she's a petal weirdo with dead bodies. Okay,
I
yeah,
mean, we all know one of those. Jesus.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like we needed to see her from a close up, and we only got sort of the newspaper version, right? Like
Mm.
the same thing that Smith knows about her without. I think she had brief moments of discomfort and whatnot, but there was one thing that I kind of noticed that I didn't quite know what to make of, still don't. Is that Oliver Torres, right? That was the other detective.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Oliver and what's her name? Martinez?
Maritza Smith.
Marissa,
Maritza,
yeah,
right? Thank you. Maritza and Oliver, they both think um, at various times about how certain characters sound to them like Rose House. And I think in Maritza's case it was Celine, and in Oliver's case it was that good speed guy, um, who, like the way they talked, they thought that it was like Rose House, and I guess there was a sort of dead quality to it. So I'm trying to think what the author's trying to tell us there about the similarities between the three. I mean, I think towards the end we have a sort of implication that Rose House is mildly obsessed with Celine, and like it's obsessed with experiences of a sort, and I think she likes Celine. Even in that scene where I think she wanders off, and then Celine feels someone stroking her hair. I think we can conclude that that's Rose House now, right? We'll talk about that. But in any case, I wonder if it's some sort of statement about um, some kind of obsession or all-consuming interest that is marking them as similar to each other, or what other ideas do you guys have about that?
Hmm. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about Goodspeed. I'm not sure if we got enough.
Yeah,
Hmm.
he was just sort of like a proxy, wasn't he, for this other group or these other people that he was using an alias. And I think that was a little clunky. This kind of Alana Ott as being
Yeah.
an alias, Goodspeed as being an alias, had these groups. Do they exist? Do they not exist? It sort of fell apart, that whole part of the
Hmm.
story. You know, the
Yeah.
Andoran part of the story,
Yeah.
in service of this idea that the house was haunted,
Hmm.
and that it had that idea, which our good friend and fellow page touring mate Josh had pointed out that the hauntedness, or the kept on being reminded of the hauntedness, drove him a little crazy. And
Hmm.
it was certainly in my head because I'd read that before I'd read the book, and I do think it again challenges that idea of, is the house haunted or is it just holding a consciousness, which is essentially what haunted
Yeah.
means. In some ways,
Hmm.
that a house and the walls have an inherent life to them, even though it's empty. Um,
Yeah, isn't that the definition of haunted in a way?
yeah, in some ways, but which I think's an interesting perspective because it did keep on coming up, and then when you play in the end of what happened to Celine at the end, this idea that she has become the house in some way, like she's become part of the consciousness of the house, with the implication that it was the nanobots or whatever that had basically got into her system and were now controlling her in much the same way as if you were, haunted,
Hmm.
or you had a spirit inside you or something else controlling you, and very similar kind of
Possessed.
outcome. Yeah, possessed is exactly the word I was reaching for there. Thank you, Jared. Um, yeah,
Is that what that means? The whole they sounded like Rose House bit?
Hmm. Didn't think of that.
And
mm,
Maritza could theoretically be haunted too now. She has a bunch
well,
of
she talks about the fact. Yes,
nanobots
she
in
talks
her.
about the fact that she may have ingested those as well.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. That's right.
Oh, damn! Is that what that ending is? Like this revelation that all of these people are actually literally possessed slash haunted by Rose House. She's not duplicating herself. Sorry, the house is not duplicating itself, but it is sort of spreading itself out into the wild. It needs experiences and is collecting them.
Yeah, so isn't it Torres that says, or it's Alana that says to Torres that once your boss Marissa's went to the house, she will never actually she'll never leave. We think
Hmm.
body, but obviously her body does leave, but actually she's taken the house with her when she
Oh,
leaves
that's
at that
right.
stage.
And oh yeah, because she had all these questions about um the why a person did what they did, not only what it was that they would do, but like she knew. Maritza said Rose House had eaten Celine Giselle a long time before Maritza ever met
Mhm.
her,
Yeah.
and I was like, I didn't get what that meant at the time, but now that you guys are
Oh,
bringing this up, I'm like, oh, geez, maybe Celine's been
yeah.
haunted for a very long time now, and I wonder because Smith was wondering what would happen if she plugged a drive into the biggest network she could find.
Hmm.
As that drive contains more Rose House hauntings, possessions? Is that is this the beginning of AI taking over the world completely? you
Yeah.
know,
This is
I
how
mean,
AI takes over. Nanobots possessing your lungs, which I love that. Okay, I think if that's the intended interpretation, which I think we can. I think I'm certain now that it is. This
Yeah,
is just elevated to the book so much.
because Celine wanted her to get it out of the house very badly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. What was that about? Sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
It was
Well,
a
I was going to
beta
say
test.
the other thing that we had is that Celine, when the one time, or one of the few times we're inside Celine's head is when she gets the phone call at the start, when she is just hoping that the house has been burned down and the house has been destroyed.
Hmm.
Whether she thinks that might release her from it, because she only
Hmm.
stayed there. She
Mm.
gets 7 days. She only stayed there for 3, wasn't it? This
Yeah.
time, and then left.
Yeah.
And you've got to ask the question, because we also get the idea that she was using all of her 7 days to research and kind of go through the archives and all the rest of it. But I wonder after 3 days whether her leaving was not actually her choice, and that the house kind of
Hmm.
expelled her and made her go out into the world at that stage and do that. So, yeah.
Yes. So
Wow.
why was she trying to preserve the stick then? Rose House didn't want to be duplicated, so it can't have been that controlling Celine. So did she of her own volition do that? If so, why?
Hmm.
But also
Hmm.
Maritza makes a great point, which I think is also directed at the reader. Like motivation is the weakest weakest thing of the case that you build, right? Like you can never really get to the bottom of why someone would do what they did.
Right. Yeah.
And the purpose of all life is to procreate, kind of at the end of the
Mm,
day, or life is that we know it. So it could be just
mm,
as simple as that.
mm,
Um,
Huh.
somehow, but yeah.
I found it interesting that, um, like, I don't know, 10 pages before the end, the the author kind of just gives away that Maritza's going to survive
Yeah.
because she says Maritza would, for the rest of her life, would think of that sound, and that tells you right there. Okay, Maritza's definitely going to get out and survive. And I was like, oh, why? I wonder why she did that. But I wonder if it's because she was giving us clues that Rose House wanted her to get out and
mm. Yeah,
propagate,
propagate.
But
possess.
Um,
again, that idea of did she get out in the way that she wanted to get out, if that makes sense? Um, did
mm,
you know? Did she get out, or is part of her, being
Yeah,
left in the house, so to speak?
the body got out,
Yeah, the body got out. Yeah, yeah,
and how much of Maritza got out is the question, I guess.
indeed.
I have to. If Maritza's been possessed like Celine, if Celine and Maritza are both possessed similarly, then we got a bit of Celine perspective where she's wishing Rose House had burnt down. So I imagine that there's a
Mm-hmm.
bit of Maritza left, enough
Mm.
autonomy, but always the fear that Rose House can take over. It's
That's interesting because I did wonder why Celine, when they got her and brought her back to the house after she came back into town, and then she went in with Maritza went in with her. I did wonder why Celine was so hands off.
mm,
Like she kind of just faded into the background,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
it was just Maritza and Rose House doing all the interacting, and I was like, I was because I
Wow.
was it messed with me. I was just like, why isn't she a bigger part of this scene, a bigger part of this
yeah,
conversation? And I'm wondering now if it's just because she's kind of just like has her instructions, you know.
She is the
Rose
house.
House is like, I'm dealing with this now. You're
Yeah.
go
go
stand
off.
in the corner or whatever.
So I'll stroke your hair for a bit. That
Yeah.
has to be Rose House, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I like this. Uh,
I mean, we
what?
could just be making shit up right now, but
Yeah, but it's a cool interpretation if you ask me. I like
Yeah,
it.
that's the fun part, though, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
something I just want to step back on is the idea that this kind of pertains to be a Japanese crime novel in some ways, because it's the locked house. It's the
Mm,
locked house novel. There's a body in a place that's a locked room. How did the body get into the room? who is the body, all of
Mm.
that kind of stuff. And the who is the body, I have to say, is the bit that I found most disappointing
Mm.
because it sort of didn't matter who the person was inside, which is kind
Yeah.
of, I was like, there was like 80 or 90 pages through, and we're still like, but we still don't know who the person is that's inside. And I found that very unfulfilling, mainly because I think I was thinking of it in terms of that Japanese crime novel of the locked room mystery.
Mm.
Yeah, that it was, and it sort of again futzed with my expectations of what the thing was going to be or what the story was going to be.
The body was just a pillow for
Yeah,
petals, rose petals.
apparently.
He's got stuff to.
Oh my god, how disturbing and cool was that image though, of like the numbers of colors in the number of colors in the petals that came out of the mouth of the corpse.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty
good
cool.
fun stuff.
Good
Yeah,
Yeah. I
descriptions. Yeah,
almost imagine them like shining like fireflies. I guess they didn't, but
yeah.
good
okay.
description. Yeah.
What else? I think Alana Ott, was that her name? Yeah.
Alana Ott, indeed. Yeah.
What did we think of her?
So an interesting character because she was the antagonist on the outside. Seemed to be very capable. I think it was a bit strange that he just accepted her as this well-known, well-renowned journalist without backing any of it up and sort of spilled the case to her. And even when he started to suspect her, he's like, "Oh, well, I'm all in at this stage. Let's keep going." I find that maybe a little bit hard to believe, especially if your partner and you thought their life was at risk inside. Although maybe conversely, that explains why he did it. But I thought that that kind of, at that stage of the book was very needed because I think we were sort of kind of direction and
Mm,
where it was going. The fact that it was in the house all the time was something that we kind of I was sort of right need something else to fix it up, and them
yeah.
trying to basically get into the house was interesting at that stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
I'm wondering if there's a different way that Martine could have played with his guilty conscience. Um,
Mm.
of leaving his detective to go in there by herself, and I mean that the way she chose to do it was to bring in this outside help, um, and yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that either. I mean, it was you wonder why, because like was she obviously wasn't an actual reporter, right? Because no story ever showed up, and so what was she doing there? Um, yeah, I'm not even. Yeah, yeah, like you said, Chris. I think that's probably the weaker part of the story there.
Mm. Yeah, it felt unsatisfying, but like I say, I appreciated the character because she was interesting, capable, all of those things, and she got new information that I don't think that Torres, the guy, could have got there by himself. He didn't seem to be on that wavelength. So
Yeah, he definitely seemed like a fish out of water a little bit. Um, as far as his character went, he definitely wasn't the kind of person who was going to take charge of any kind of investigation or
yeah,
do much on his own without calling for outside help.
yeah.
yeah,
He'd much rather find water thieves and write them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that? This little tiny glimpse into a a little bit of a distant future, not too far away, but
Mm.
I think she gave a year in here. It was like 2060 or 70 or
2168 or something.
21 something. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so this these little tiny hints that we get about there's water thieves, so obviously water's a big commodity, um, which is definitely something that could happen. in the future, and is also there was also something else too. That were there handcuffs or something like that? That shock, or was it?
Mm, yeah. He wasn't allowed guns. He had to fill out a lot of paperwork. But he had handcuffs that could knock the person out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just these little touches like that that gave you a sense of a future, but it really was still very much grounded in what we're familiar with. So I found that interesting that she didn't um, speculate too much about the future, but
Yeah.
just gave us enough to so that she was able to, I don't know, play with stuff a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. I did appreciate that sort of vague background that we got of like with little mentions of water thieves and that they all drive electric cars. Um, so yeah, I think sort of post climate crisis or trying frantically to preserve uh sort of future, I think is
Mm.
is the sense I got from it. But not post apocalyptic, I don't think. Just a world where there's a lot of shortage of resources,
Yeah.
but they're making do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Hmm.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else before we wrap up?
Um, no, fun book. We're all caught up with Martine's releases now.
Yeah.
She can
Yep.
take some time off from her day job. We might see more books soon.
We'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, the next book we'll be reading is Revelation Space by Alistair Reynolds. That's the
Very
author.
good.
Sorry. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.